Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Discovering Multifamily podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Scandariato with Red Knight Properties. And today we have Chris Craddock with us. He is a real estate expert. He's also a podcast host of the Uncommon Real Estate Show. He's also a nationally certified life coach and a member of, everybody, for the most part, who's listening probably knows who Gary Keller is. But he's a member of Gary Keller's Top 100 with Doctorate in leadership. And he's a consistent multi-million-dollar producer. His team is the Redux Group? How do you say it?
Redux.
Yep. Okay. Redux Group, which sold just under $120 million worth of transactions in 2019. And he cracks the code on what a good real estate agent / investor partnership, because he caters mostly to the real estate investors. So I'm curious to learn how that kind of came about for you, Chris, and how that relationship works with your clients. So excited to hear more about it.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here. And anytime talking to other investors and other people that are really trying to to build something with with the gifts that we've been given, it's always fun to just share a mastermind around these big ideas that can change your lives. So it's awesome, man. Glad to be here.
Good. So can you tell us a little bit about what's because everybody knows what a traditional real estate agent is, right? They go around, usually single family homes. So, but what's an investor agent? What is that? How is that different from traditional?
Well, I'll tell you, I think, I love what Grant Cardone says. The biggest problem with real estate agents is they don't buy their own product, right? Like that's pretty much it. And you see it over and over again. I don't have honestly, I don't have a massive level of respect for most real estate agents, because they're not really willing to work hard, and they treat it. They're entrepreneurs that treat their life like a job instead of a business. They're not growing anything that will create something bigger than their next transaction, which is one of the things that I love with what you're doing. And so for me, I got into the investor world. I was on staff with a ministry, an organization called Young Life. I loved Young Life. It was amazing. My life was changed from it. And so I worked with that, but I was making 20 grand a year. And in the DC area, you cannot live on 20 grand a year. And so when my wife got pregnant, I started knocking on doors of distressed properties, and ended up making 12 times in 4 months what I made in a year. And so I continued doing ministry and kind of flipping houses a little bit here and there. And through the ministry stuff, I'd always built large teams. And so when I read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, that Gary Keller put out, I just saw that you could build a large team. But because of the investor background I had, we really made that a big pillar of the business to say, listen, investors and agents should go hand in hand, but for whatever reason, investors don't like agents because agents don't really like to work, and agents don't like investors because they always feel like they're doing other stuff that's, just outside of their wheelhouse. And so there really is a world where they can combine if it's done well. You solve problems and you make a lot of money together.
Oh, for sure. So can you talk about, and that's important too, having that type of relationship and having, the agents work for, especially if it's, duly represented. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But for them to really understand the ins and outs of the investor world. So can you talk about, before we hopped on the show, we were talking about, how to reduce spending money on leads to find good investment properties. So what are some of the ways that you do that?
Yeah. So what we started doing is there's a lot of people out there that are buying and wholesaling properties, right? They're wholesaling, or they're fix and flipping, or all of the other things out there. And what they do is, if they find a deal that has a good margin, they'll do the deal. But if they find a deal that doesn't have a good margin, then they throw the lead away. They don't do anything with it, or they try to hand it off to an agent or whatever. But the reality is, Most real estate agents treat the leads like they would a regular investment lead. Whereas these are people that called an investor. They want to sell off market. They have a reason that they're selling separately, like not on the market. And for whatever reason, every agent thinks they should treat it like a regular retail agent, open up their listing presentation, all that. And so they're never closing at a high rate because let's be honest, everybody's Uncle John is a hairdresser and he's a real estate agent, right? Like there's real estate agents everywhere. So they don't need to talk to you, the real estate agent. But if you come in and you're able to solve their problems, then they'll hire you. Even if their uncle's an agent, if you come in and are able to solve their problem. So I think that's the biggest problem is real estate agents are constantly square peg, round hole, trying to make things work. When the reality is the people that solve other people's problems are the ones that make the most money in the world. And so that's how we built this system where we're able to help these investors that are throwing away tens of thousands every month worth of leads and turn that, like we call it, turning the trash into cash, and turn it and monetize those deals. So that's kind of the basis of the class that we're teaching.
Excellent. So, this is a class that you teach as well. Is that the Mindset to $1 Million?
No, so Mindset to $1 Million is kind of, an entrepreneur's journey. So that's like one of my favorite classes, just because, we, within the first 2 years built a business that brought in over $2 million of top line revenue, in the first 2 years of really running the business. And that all starts in the mind, right? You have to back it out because, the person to build $1 million business is somebody that's got to be mentally tough. And how do you create more of a mentally tough person out of yourself when, let's be honest, like life is hard. Business is hard. Like it's easy to quit. It's easy to say, this is great. And then you start and you realize it's harder than you thought. Cause if it was easy, everybody would do it. Right.
Exactly. So how do you, you mentioned, everybody knows real estate agent, the hairdresser and barber, whatever it is. Most of that's like part-time. How do you, train or coach your agents to, do more with it, and to take it to the next level? I mean, you have a whole program for that, and that's what Gary Keller is really good at as well, as you know. So, what are some of the, not metrics, but milestones that you kind of walk through new trainees or agents to get to the next level, to take them to the next level?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. Well, what I would just say is this, when times get hard, I think about like the Navy SEALs, they'll say that nobody will rise to the level of their goals. They're going to fall to the level of training. So the first thing I will say is, I think everybody in the real estate community needs to up their level of training. I don't think that most people train well. I think most of the time people practice on the people that pay them, and that just does not work. You should not practice on the people that pay you. Raise your level of training. The second thing is this. We walk through specifically, and one of the really, really big keys is this, understanding that people do not want to talk to a realtor. They just don't want to talk to a realtor. They want to talk to somebody that will solve their problems. So if you come in and say, hey, I'm a realtor, they're going to tell you where you can go. They're not going to want to talk to you about that. But if you come in and ask people questions and say, hey, what is it that you're looking for? Why do you call an investor? And there's only one of 5 different reasons, right? It's like, they don't want a lot of people coming through the house. They don't want to pay a commission. They think their house is too much of a mess. They need to sell fast. They don't want their neighbors to know, right? So if you can solve whichever one of their problems it is for them, they're going to hire you. And you're not talking commissions. You're not talking anything. You're talking about solving their problem, getting them the money they want for the property. And then you're not a real estate agent. You're not one of the dime a dozen people. You're somebody that has solved their problems. Their own personal consultant. So that's really how you go and take these leads and start making a fortune out of it. But you gotta follow the system, you gotta follow the process, and then you can help people, with what they're wanting help with.
Right. So when you're dealing with your investors, so what types of properties are you working on for your investors, and what are they looking for moving forward into 2021? What's the outlook look like? I know you're in the DC area, so are you mostly local? I'm assuming it is. What does that look like for you and your team?
Yeah, so for our team, I mean, we're just seeing I mean, the market is insane right now here. So it's just really, really good. And we're doing a lot of business here locally. Now I am coaching and helping people from across the country. So that's really going well. But what I would just say is this, people are looking to sell, people looking to get out, there are people looking to sell everywhere. So if people are investing, if people are looking for rental properties or wholesale or fix and flip properties, distressed property owners are selling. You just got to get to them. You got to talk to enough people. And then when you talk to those people, you got to find a way to monetize those leads that are not turning into anything right now. So that's what I would say is know that the market is hot. It's kicking butt. It's there, but then the leads that you're throwing away. So I tell this story. So there were these sawmills back in the day, and these sawmills were very, very much just barely breaking even, like not making any money. They'd mill the wood and then they'd sell it and they'd just barely break even. Well, what happened was somebody realized that they could repurpose and repackage the sawdust. Like you think particle board, think, just a lot of other things that you can do with the sawdust. And they started selling the sawdust and they were making as much money, if not more, from the byproduct that they were just throwing away. And so that's kind of the idea behind the class that we have is where can you get synergistic help from what you're already doing and already paying for? That's where my title company was born. That's how my insurance company was born. Like all the other companies that I built, we have a big retail branch of our business. And it's like, we're already sending this business somewhere. Why not get paid more times, in a compliant way from the same business that we're doing. And the same thing's true with these leads, right? You're already paying for them. Why not get paid more times for them?
Right. No, that makes sense. Yeah. So, and I guess, I agree with you. The market's crazy right now, and you always got to find ways to scale and reduce your expenses. So, but how have you scaled your business as quickly as you did? I know you mentioned in your first year you guys did 2 million in commissions. So how did you get to that point? What's your secret?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I think there's two things. It's activity and skill, right? The first thing is activity. The second thing is skill. In order to win, like bottom line is, I don't care what business you're looking at. I don't care whether you're looking at single family. I don't care if you're looking to wholesale, fix and flip, whatever you're looking to do. Bottom line is, if you talk to enough people, you will get deals. You'll get deals. Like, I don't care if you're the worst salesman on the history of the planet. If you talk to 1,000 people a day, you will get deals. And then what happens when you add skill to that, right? It's activity, and then you add skill to it. And then all of a sudden you talk to 1,000 people and then you actually get good at what you're saying. That's it. And so I'll tell you, that was how we built our business. Was we talked to a lot of people, increased our activity, and then grew the skill from there. So that was kind of the whole piece there. And then we're really, really, really working on all of that, just kind of growing it out, then bringing other people, teaching them what we're doing.
Got it. So what would you recommend to someone who maybe they're fresh out of college, or they're looking to get started in real estate, and maybe they want to get on the investment side, but maybe want to start out as an agent, or maybe they'll like being an agent, who knows? But they really like being on the investment side. What would you say, just some, words of wisdom to kind of help guide them through to get them as quickly as you grew your business,
Yeah. I would say this: what you focus on expands, right? So if every morning you wake up and you think about where you want to go, you're going to get there. I mean, just think about this. So they call it the reticular activating system, which basically says our mind is built to filter out everything. If you look at all the different data sources in your room where you are right now, or in your car, or wherever you're listening to this, you'll realize there are billions of different data sources coming at you. And if you actually individually processed each one, you would go insane. So that's why when you go to buy a new car, all of a sudden you recognize your car everywhere on the street, right? Because of the fact that that's what you've been thinking about, and then you see it everywhere else, right? So the same thing's true with our success. Is if you want to get into the investor world, if you want to start investing, you need to start. If you're an agent, you need to start thinking about investing more often. You need to read about it. You need to be listening to podcasts. You need to be just thinking through wealth building so that you understand at a higher level. And then all of a sudden you'll realize that there's opportunity everywhere. We don't drown from scarcity, right? We drown in opportunity. The problem is most of us don't even recognize all the opportunity that surrounded us because we haven't spent enough time focusing on what's around us to open those doors to walk through.
Sure. Awesome. That makes a lot of sense. So how can people find you, Chris?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm on Instagram. It's at Craddock, CRADDROCK. If you're in real estate, like as an agent, you can go to Uncommon Real Estate, which is our Facebook wall. We deal with a lot of agent stuff and some of the just investor world as well. But those are the two easiest ways. And you can DM me on Instagram. That tends to be the easiest way to get me. So yeah, I work hard to respond to every message.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Chris. Really appreciate it. We'll definitely provide a link to your podcast and your Instagram links and everything you just mentioned in the comment section on iTunes and in all our social media, so our audience can find you as well. And
That's
really want to appreciate.
I forgot to mention, I've also got if you want more information about any of the stuff that we're doing, the class, any of that, just chriscraddock.com as well.
chriscraddock.com. Perfect. You can't forget that. So
Yeah.
Chris, yeah, thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is great.
Excellent.